So where did you grow up?
Okay, so my dad was in the military. I was born in Grand Forks, North Dakota. And my mom was from North Dakota, and then my dad was in the Air Force. And we moved from North Dakota, like when I was 1 or 2, and then we lived in Connecticut, Japan, Duluth, Minnesota, 3 years in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, 2 years in Colorado, 4 years in North Dakota, 1 year in Maine. And this is my, and then I did a year in Vermont. And that's like my school, all the schools I went to.
Okay. So you did a lot of moving, and then you kind of established your, school and whatnot. And you weren't jumping around while you were going to school. Or at least when it mattered, like middle school.
And in honesty, in North Dakota, you'd be surprised. I got a very good education.
Oh, you went to school in North Dakota?
I went back there when I was in the 7th grade.
Got it.
So I was there 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th grade.
Got it. And then where was it? So half of high school was in North Dakota. Where was the other half of high school? 1
year was in Maine and 1 year was in Vermont. And then they decided to retire in Vermont.
Got it.
And then went back to North Dakota. Well, anyways.
Got it. And you had 2 brothers, 1 sister.
And I'm the oldest. I'm the boss.
Oh.
I was so bossy. God bless my poor siblings, what I put them through. I was perfect for the Army. I was all ready. My mom went back to work when I was 10.
Mm-hmm.
And my parents, they were really whack jobs. I shared how she had these nice cars and nice things. But my dad, John was, I'm not going to use any other names, was he started molesting me as early as, it was when we were in Japan. So it was.
Your dad.
Right. By when my mom would go bowling, and what I remember early memories of being really, really scared of him. I knew he was a creep, even as a child. Kids know. Mm-hmm. And he always said, this is going to be our secret. And he was so scary. I can't even tell you how scary he was.
How old were you at this point?
I want to say 5.
Wow.
Yeah. And, I was a little blonde, blue-eyed girl, oldest of 4 kids, just so innocent. And he was a perpetrator. That was his objective, was to molest me every time he could get the chance. That was his mission. But the one that I remember, my very first memory before actually being molested, was him coming into my room in Japan and leaving. And he was going TDY for 6 months or something. It's they'd send them TDY a lot in the Air Force. So he was going to Greenland, and he was coming in. He was so fake. But I just remember being petrified of him, even then. And then the time that I remember the first molestation, he molested me. Then he had me go in the closet because he heard my mom come in and had me get dressed. And I had my clothes inside out. And I was a smart kid. So they laughed, she's just a kid, mm-hmm. about it after. it went right over my mom's head. And so I told you how she liked to fish. When we'd go camping, he would take me in the tent when my mom would go out on the boat or go fishing. He was off the chain. He would come into my room at night. It was like he molested me so many times that I couldn't even tell you how many times. I was, like I said, his objective. And I was so scared of him. And he was so physically abusive to all four of us that we were all scared of him. So between the physical abuse and stupid, they had all these toys like the boats and the cars and campers and yada, yada, yada. I love my siblings because of what we've gone through. But he would tell us we couldn't drink the milk and he would mark it with a marker and I'd add water to it. I just laugh when I look back on. They would eat steaks and feed us hot dogs. They would eat hamburgers and we would have hot dogs. Mm. And he played so many games. Like, remember, the Kraft macaroni and cheese?
Of course.
He would not add the milk and have us try it just to see if we liked it. And he'd pretend that he liked it just to get us to eat it. He was so messed up. Like, I can't wrap my head around it. So, when I say dark too, it was a really dark childhood. I remember wanting to go to rewind a little bit. I remember we lived in this trailer court and back then it was nice, and we moved a lot. So anyways, I remember them getting in a really big argument. And my mom's big thing, she was a head case too. We had, back in the day, they had these coffee tables with the tops, and she'd go have temper tantrums and pound on the coffee table, kick the top of the wooden coffee table off, and it would fly. She would throw temper tantrums. Like, she always got what she wanted, and it was always about her. But I remember one time they got in this fight, and she bailed out of the house. And I went with her because I knew darn well that he'd force me back in the bedroom and he would have a field day with me. So I think that's when my mom realized how scared I was of him. Because during that year, I remember, and this man was relentless. He would not leave me alone. I thought by sleeping on the bed and near the wall that he would leave me alone. I was a kid, but he always found me. It was like a monster lurking in the bushes. I would lock the door on the bathroom. It was one of those that you just pushed. Mm-hmm. And he would unlock it and come and get me when I was in the shower. He was a monster. He was just, so I grew up.
Hey guys, quick update. Starting Monday, August 25th, I'm hosting a weekly open recovery meeting. It's for any addiction. Whether you're struggling with alcohol, drugs, gambling, food, you name it, everyone is welcome. If you want to get updates and the meeting link each week, just email me at kevin@riseabovepod.com to join the list. Again, that's kevin@riseabovepod.com. Put Rise Above Meeting in the subject, and I'll add you to the list. Lastly, so that we can continue to spread the message of hope, please drop us a like or subscribe. And on streaming platforms, if you could please leave us a rating, it helps us reach more people. Thank you so much. In fear.
Yes. Yes.
How long did this go on for?
Till I was in between 7th and 8th grade, because we moved to when we moved to North Dakota, my aunt, this is the other thing too, my mom and my grandma my grandma had 7 kids. My mom was the oldest of 7. And the youngest, one is 3 months younger than me, whom I'm like We're like the Bobbsey twins.
Mm.
I just love her.
Yeah.
That's like one of the God things that came out of how I grew up. And he was inappropriate with her. She lived with us in the summer, or one summer, and then she lived with us through the 7th grade. But she like jumped on the bed with me. We would take turns sleeping on the floor and on the bed. We didn't even care. We were kids.
Yeah.
But when he tried to make advances towards her, I'm like, yeah. So, anywho.
So this went on for about 7 or 8 years.
Like 9.
9 years. Okay. Where he was doing this.
Yes. And the last time he got me was in a farmhouse. We rented a farmhouse in Findlay, North Dakota, in between like 7th and 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And then we moved to this town called Annetta. And that's when he was, I think because he was a pedophile, he lost interest in me. That's the only thing I can think. But he was also a pervert. He was always hitting on my mom's sisters that were 5 years younger. Or, you know what I mean? He was just weird.
Yeah.
He was gone.
Was he doing this to your sister and or your brothers?
My sister said she had one inappropriate moment. No, not sexually, but he was, when I say physically abusive, he was so off the chain that when we lived in that trailer, that was like the worst couple of years was when we lived in Colorado, in elementary school. He, that time that my mom took off and I got in the car with her, while we were gone, he had a gun and he had all 3 of the kids. So I was in the 5th grade. So we're all like about a year apart-ish.
Mm-hmm.
So we had, he had my 3 siblings on the bedroom floor waving a gun, blaming them for the reason why my parents had their argument. Just so sad.
So you're 14. He eventually moves on from you and seeks out someone else, or?
You know,
and it just stopped?
What happened was when I was 15. Well, let me back up. Actually, I think that time that I jumped in the car with my mom, looking back on things, I can get it now. The light goes on.
Yeah.
I remember babysitting for these neighbors across the street and me coming home. I'm talking, he was so crazy, Kevin. He was a monster. That's mild. That's like putting it mildly. Mm. He was what you call a wolf in sheep's clothing. He's like he should have gone away for a very long time. But that time that we went, that I ran off, I remember I'd babysat and I came home and he was waiting for me behind my bedroom door. And he scared the living you-know-it out of me. He took his hands and he covered my mouth and was shaking me uncontrollably and yelling at me, or in a soft voice, I should say, but.
For leaving?
No, for saying, why are you so scared of me?
Yeah.
So, one, he scared the daylights out of me because he was waiting behind my bedroom door.
Mm-hmm.
And so I walk in and then he's shaking me. Like, you can't write this stuff.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
So does this just ends with you? And do you end up telling anyone, or?
Yeah. So what happened was when I was like 15, when I was in the 7th grade, I tried to tell one of my mom's sisters. And she was pretty young herself. And I found out now that she took it to her parents, my grandparents, and they just said, mind your own business, basically. And I have an aunt that's 3 months younger, an uncle that's a year and a half older. And then I also have an uncle that's 5 years older than me. And we were just going through a lot of stuff with him, mental health issues. And he went away. And somehow my school principal pulled me into his office. So to inquire. And by this time, I was having a major meltdown. And I hadn't told my mom, I hadn't come out to my mom to tell her what was going on and what had gone on for so long. And so I was crying to my grandpa. I was just crying. I was so emotional, I could barely talk. And when I start crying, my face is red.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm a mess. And so my grandpa was like, why are you crying? Is it because you found out John isn't your real dad? So this is when I found out who I thought was my dad
Was not your dad.
was not my dad. And I said, no. And I didn't know the term molestation.
Yeah, of course.
So as a kid, I was so innocent, not an angel. I don't mean it like that.
Yeah.
But
you told him.
But I told him that he was sexually attacking me. Those were the words that I used.
Yeah.
That's how I articulated it.
Of course.
And he was stunned. And then he goes, I think you should go up to your room. And I think you should tell your mom. And unbeknownst to me, my aunt had already told them. Because they said, mind your own business.
Right.
So my mom came up, and instead of being loving and supportive, she was like, are you sure you're not lying to me? Which was trauma on top of trauma. Yeah. Because
this is the person you trust and you love.
Right.
And
I had
not
the courage.
You.
It took so much courage for me to even tell her. Looking back on it, was one of the and then I was feeling betrayed.
Yeah, of course.
About her not telling me that John wasn't my real dad. And, and during that time period, when she came up to my room, she said, well, worse happened to me, but it just went over my head. And so I went with my grandparents that night, and I remember crying myself to sleep. And they lived 30 minutes away at this point. And then, of all things, my parents now live on a 10-acre property with a house and a barn. And my grandparents buy a trailer, and they move a trailer on our property. And John had gone TDY again, which we loved because he was just such a loser. We as kids could relax. He was always into his games. And so even though the molestation stopped, he was still I had made the cheerleading squad, and he made such a big issue about my mom doing anything for me. I needed, back then, $27 for a pair of shoes was a big deal. And he would just you could just tell he hated my mom doing anything for me. Yeah. So then my principal, I wanted that point to be out there that I told my grandfather. And then
your mom.
And my mom.
So you're at school, principal approaches you.
Right. And about my uncle, I said, oh, that's nothing. You don't know what I've been going through my whole life. And I just unloaded. I told him everything.
What did he say?
He was almost crying. He felt so bad for me. And he had a counselor come in. And the counselor said, you can't write this stuff. He said, he was giving me all my options. He said I could take him to court. I could press charges, which hindsight's 20/20. I wish I would have. But when I confronted my mom about it, she told me that if I took him to court, that I'd never see her again.
Mm.
All she cared about was things and his military income and benefits. So like he beat me up so many times. Like I could lose track, but 2 times he really, really beat me up. Like something that you'd see a spouse in a spousal abuse. When I was 16, I don't even know where everybody was because we had a lot of people living out on the property.
Mm-hmm.
But he was, like I said, I was there alone, and why they left me there alone. I remember I had no shoes on, and we lived 5 miles out of town, and we had a 1/4 mile gravel driveway. And I just remember saying, I hate you. I just hate you. And he followed me in his vehicle. I was like walking with no shoes on. And he was like, you better get in this car. And when we got back to the house, he was like kicking the out of me, beating me.
So could we go back to the principal and the social worker? So the options were press charges, and then what were the other options? And I'm assuming you took one of the other options.
That's a really good question, because he said the foster care system could be worse. Mm. And that's what scared me. I'm like, how could it be worse?
Right.
But it was back in the 80s.
Yeah.
So he was being honest.
Yeah.
And I got counseling from him. Like he came in, I had him to talk to.
And no one took any action at that point? Because I feel like with the school, aren't you mandated to report that to the police?
That was back in 1980. And, right? Exactly. And he was good for me, that counselor. Like he gave me some wisdom that helped me, like kind of get through the moment.
Yeah, but he left you in a house with an abuser.
I know.
That's
so crazy.
Such a huge no-no.
Yeah. And then, I mean, and he knew, like, he took advantage as far as just like that. It happened then, and then it happened right before I went in the Army at 18.
So it happened all the way up until 18, essentially.
Right.
Okay.
So the sexual abuse stopped, but
at 14, 15, physical abuse kept going until 18.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So you then graduate high school. He's physical with you up until 18. You're still living there, going to therapy.
Actually, I didn't even have any therapy after we left North Dakota. Remember I told you we went to Maine? And then
you moved so many times. It's tough to keep up.
Anyways, I know.
No. So, okay. So you had some therapy during that time.
Right.
And then you go into the Army, and you must be relieved that you're leaving now and going into the Army.
And at the time, I got pretty good grades. Right. And I could have done anything.
Yeah.
But I didn't. What happens when you go through this kind of trauma?
Mm-hmm.
My self-worth was 0. I mean, and I am living in fear all the time. I was such a nervous person, and fear of failure. It was like so nuts when I look back on it. Just fear of failure. But the Army wound up being such a blessing because I overcame so much. Like I was the only female in my whole company that I couldn't throw a live grenade. And so they said, well, if you don't pass, we're going to recycle you. And what recycle means is they make you start right from the beginning. I'm like, hell no.
Yeah, I'll learn how to throw a grenade.
So when everybody was at the bar, I was the dingbat that was sitting there with my milk crate of fake grenades practicing. I was very like, I'm going to get through this.
Yeah.
I just knew. And so that awful upbringing, when you hear a shell of a person, it's sad that, and I wasn't really pretty when I was like in high school. And what happened, and I'm just sharing this because like my sister that I grew up with, she's like taller, long legs. And so I was almost brainwashed by my mom and her sisters, older sister or younger sisters, but older than me, that I was the ugly duckling because I wasn't tall. And that only beautiful women were tall, like stupid things like at Christmas time. They would measure us in the kitchen and put our heads back to back. And what happened was in my 20s, I kind of grew into my own and struggled with relationships. I was married with my 36-year-olds. I lived with him. Right. I lived with him for 3 years and then got married.
You have 2 kids now, 32 and 36. So the older one,
right,
you married
their dad,
his father.
And then we were going through a divorce and I got pregnant with Mark by someone else, but I lied. That's like my big, in life, we have things that I'm being transparent with you because.
Yeah, of course.
We all have crosses to bear.
When you're going through the divorce, it's over and done with the other person. So I get it. You got into a relationship and you ended up getting pregnant.
Right. But at the time, in my generation, it would have been really, it was
I get it.
Big no.
Yeah.
And so I understand. I was so scared. Again, I was scared during that time, being honest again. But I came clean. When he was like 8 or 9, I told his dad and then I told him. That's like we all have, like I said, crosses to bear and mistakes. That's like my big one.
Yeah. And
I still feel terrible about it, but I love him so much. I love my sons. So like, I can see how the trauma affected me. But I was so busy raising kids. I was trying to get my 20 years in the military so I could collect a retirement. And I felt like a failure because of the divorce. That I went back with my ex-husband and lived with him for 3 years. And
did you marry baby daddy number 2?
No.
Okay. So your 32-year-old son, you didn't marry his dad. You were with him for a little bit, had a child with him. Then you go back to baby daddy 1.
Right.
Okay. And then you're with him for 3 years.
Right. And I really loved him.
Yeah.
Like he was like, I had a lot of attention at that time by men in the military. I was
a fox.
I was.
You were a babe.
But I didn't know it. This is what's so darn funny when I look back on it. I really had no freaking clue.
Yeah.
Like, so, and I think, again, because I was brainwashed, like, oh, you're short. You can't be short and pretty,
Yeah, by your family.
Yeah. So I had those whacked prejudgments about myself. Right.
Distorted thinking about yourself.
Exactly.
And then also, too, what your father was doing to you.
Yeah. It just screwed me up.
Must have confused the shit out of you.
Yeah, it just screwed me up. And
okay.
So why this is so important is that relationship with my oldest son's dad. It didn't have a chance in hell. Like I wasn't, and I can't tell you, like, if there's one thing I did right was having my kids. I love my sons more than, and I would never want them to think that they were mistakes because they are not mistakes. They're kind of like they motivated me to figure out my military career. I wound up becoming a single mom. And what happened was when I got back with him, I got out of the military and I took a break from the military. I did 4 different enlistments, which is really unique. If you're out for less than 5 years and you can go in and pass the medical and if you can pass the medical and pass the PT test, you can go back in boots. Bam, bam.
Wow.
So I went in from 82 to 85. Then I went back in 87 and I was in till 98. Well, 97 full time. And then I did 1 year in the Guard from 97 to 98. But I was with my baby daddy from 97 to 2000. That was 3 years. And we lived in the Bay Area near San Francisco. And for me, which the irony is I started going to church when I was 19. So like I had somewhat of a moral compass. And one of the reasons why I wound up leaving him after 3 years is because we didn't remarry. But I didn't want to spell it out. I'm like, it has to be, I'm like one of those all or nothing chicks. You're like all in or I'm gone. So I went, bought my first home, took the kids. He followed me there. And I just looked back and it was just like such a cluster. But I put myself through nursing school. And by then I already had a business degree. In the Army, if you have college credits, you get promotion points for every credit. And so I was like what they call a fast tracker. So when I'm on, I'm definitely on. I was back. So I grew into that. You know, I was Soldier of the Year, Post Soldier of the Year, NCO of the Year. I like it would shock you if you saw like all my accolades. But that's just surface level. I joke about it. It's all worth a cup of coffee. Because after I'd gone through everything that I'd gone through, and then even in the military, I still felt like, for example, my husband's very athletically gifted. He just is a natural athlete.
Your current husband now?
Correct. And I've been married for 20 years.
Amazing.
And he's 5 years younger. He's so kind. Like the polar opposite of, I met him when I was 40. I never, after going through that roller coaster, you know, feeling like I was just we joke about it. I was a hot mess on the inside. But I had buried it a lot because of my responsibility as a mother. We have a saying in the military, beat beat. I had to get busy and I had to take care of my sons and provide for them. And they were a big enough distraction. And same with the military. The military was a big enough distraction. Nursing school, like all of it was, I was like going through the motions. And what happened was I wound up having, around 2000, my brother, my mom and John, her husband, she had a nervous breakdown. And in the nervous breakdown, she said, that she had been raped multiple times, not just by her dad, but by her uncle, one of his brothers, her dad's brothers. And that she had 2 children by my grandfather. I was the second one. So the grandfather that I told back on the property was my dad. That he was trying to tell me then.
Whoa.
So me being molested and going through what I went through, I believed her. I'm like, but how I found out about my mom was really moving because, so John left her for a younger woman. Her husband left her after 36 years of marriage. That abusive monster of a man, excuse for a man, left my mom. And my mom had a nervous breakdown after being married for 36 years. And she was really sick. She had rheumatoid arthritis and she was very crippled. And he left her for someone younger. And I'm sure that made her feel inadequate, which would any woman. And she told my brother, Craig, he told my sister. And I even went to visit my sister in Massachusetts, and she knew, and she didn't have the heart to tell me. She thought, well, our family's so screwed up already. Just when you don't think our family could be any more screwed up, she was processing it. And she didn't want to tell me because she knew how fragile I was, which moves me that she loved me so much that she didn't even have, you know what I mean? Some people like to gossip and love to like cake and on. It really moves me that she didn't want to tell me. She didn't want to give me that awful news and have me have to deal with it. So, because the irony of all of this is when my grandpa lived on the property, I really had no freaking clue that he had raped my mom. I really was so naive. By then, my mom would always call him a mean drunk, and he had a heart attack, so he got sober at 50. And you can't blame addictions for bad behavior. That person, if a man was crazy enough to rape his daughter, alcohol is no excuse. That's like gross. And she had 2 children. So she gave up one for adoption. Then she had me. And we were in this bizarre, I had that terrible upbringing. So in 2020 is when it all came out. And I tell my mom's sisters.
Wait, your mom had the breakdown in 2020?
No, she had the breakdown in 20. I'm messing up the dates.
Yeah.
My mom in 2000.
Okay. And then that's when she came out and said, so you've known for 25 years that your grandfather is your father.
Right. Sorta. This is what happened.
Okay.
So she came out, and then I told my mom's younger sisters, and they all got together and they said, well, he passed away in 96. The man isn't even alive to defend himself. So, and like I said, I really loved him. So I really, like he did a science fair project. He had me snowed.
Yeah.
He did like a science fair project. I felt safe with him, the irony of it. So around 2020 or 2000, my life. Around 2000 is when my mom had the breakdown. She, might have even been 99, but it all came out, and I told her sisters, and they're like, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And so my mom lived till 2013. My grandma passed away in 2010. My mom lived till 2013. So I had an idea. And I think deep inside I believed it because I knew a female doesn't just like make that up out of. Yeah.
And for her to brush off what was going on when you brought it to her saying,
right.
Why worse has been done to me.
Right. And so she didn't protect me.
I'm so sorry you went through all that.
Can you, it's like a movie. You just, like I said, you can't write this stuff.
Was John ever caught, or is John free today?
He passed away, but I'm not kidding. He just died like a year ago. Nothing ever happened to him. I remember in my 20s when they were living in North Dakota writing, they moved back to North Dakota, and I got pulled in by a female cop saying, what are you trying to do? And because of the statute of limitations, I couldn't press charges then. And I was just trying to protect. He remarried that younger woman, and I'm thinking,
does she have kids?
Right. Oh, this is an interesting inkling in all of this.
You just keep you're throwing grenades now. You got good at it.
When I put myself through nursing school, when I was going through nursing school, I had my hair done at the School of Cosmetology because that's all I could afford. And I wanted to become really good friends with one of the instructors. And her husband was a director of nursing, and he hired me right out of school. But of all things, my mom and John had moved to California, and they lived in California for a while. And during that time, at that facility where I got hired, his new wife was a CNA there. So it was too much for me.
Yeah.
I wound up leaving, and that's why I moved to Chico and took a nursing job. I knew that was not good for me.
Yeah.
And, by then, John was like calling my brother saying, well, she was there first. I don't care if Tina has more education. And by then I was just like,
yeah, done with it.
And I just drove on, and I met my husband, and
here you are 20 years later married.
Right.
That's amazing. I want to go into, so for the listener who has experienced something similar to what you experienced, or even the same thing, you talked about there was a lot of fear after it and trust and anxiety. I think you said anxiety.
Yep, I have a huge amount of anxiety.
What were some of the after effects, like after you left and went into the military and then the abuse and molestation stopped? Did you have a tough time in relationships following that? And what were some other areas where it really impacted your life?
How it really impacted my life was I was just like such an awesome human being. And if I could go back to my 20-something, I would believe in myself, where I had no self-esteem, like in every aspect.
It took the light out of you.
Right. And one of the things that counselor said to me that helped me back when I was in high school, and I hope this does help the listeners and anybody, we all go through trials and tribulations. None of us are immune. And I even hope this helps you with your sobriety, because in life, bad things are going to happen to you. Life is messy. But we are born with things that make us special. Like there's things about you that you were born with, and there are things that I was born with that are so beautiful and so wonderful. No matter what happens to you, they're so wonderful. No one can take that away from you. And I was never like the overachiever. I was just like one trying to make it. But I love the fact now, looking back on it, that I'm humble. All that trauma made me very empathetic for other people. As far as I relate to anybody almost, because when you've experienced deep pain and disappointment, you just wear different lenses. But so I know that, it took me time. I didn't believe it when that counselor told me then, but I believe it now. And I've learned, well, one, having a moral compass helps. Marriages work. It's hard. It's not a party. And my husband and I are like polar opposites in a lot of ways. But I almost feel like because we're committed, I just feel like I've been blessed because I haven't given up. Just like with the military, I got my retirement because I didn't give up. Yeah. So it's like not letting the enemy steal your joy. A lot of times I would look back and I was like just a little shit, and I'd have these awful thoughts, and I always wanted something to happen to my perpetrator. And now I just have decided that you don't have to have revenge on bad fruit that they drop by themselves.
Ooh.
And so
that's powerful.
He never had any substance, where I've had so much substance in my life. And over time, my self-esteem, putting myself through nursing school, everything was hard for me. But the fact that, and I went through multiple sergeants' academies and just got to the other side. You can't help but believe in yourself then, because you're like, move over, Rover. And as a female, that's a military term too, but it's like, it's just how I think differently. To encourage the listeners, like this, I was never like a big Yahoo exec or anything, but I'm a woman and I have bought 5 homes, bought and sold 5 homes. I bought one in California, sold it, bought 2 in Colorado. So I had one, and then I bought the cabin from my husband. And I was always fair. I don't play dirty. I figure we're a team. So we'd like just take the money that we made off of it, pay off our cars. I bought the 4th home in Massachusetts in Gloucester, which is like the oldest sea village in the country, right near the ocean. Sold it, and then I bought my dream home in Kentucky.
That's amazing. So,
even though I was such a mess, I love the name of your show, Rise Above, because there's something to be said. Like the things that you go through, I still struggle. In 2010-ish, I had a nervous breakdown. I was hospitalized. I was suicidal. Like everything had come to a head. Mm-hmm. Just the stress of life. And it turned out that I had PTSD from, of course, what I went through. And then what happened was later in my career, I had my commander that looked just like John.
Yeah. So it triggered it.
Yeah, triggered it. And so from burying it, from like having all these distractions and not dealing with it, I wound up going through and I strongly recommend, I don't think cognitive therapy, like talking to someone, it helps a little, but it's not an end all.
It works for some people.
Right. It does.
It does.
It does if you have the right person. But something that I used that really helped was EMDR.
Yeah.
That really to me, really, really helped.
What did it do for you? And can you explain a little more for the listener exactly what it is?
Okay, so it's getting the right side of the brain to
the connectors?
The connectors.
Yep.
And so it didn't make I didn't get amnesia, which I wish I would have had. It made me just look at it differently. The abuse differently.
It's rewiring the brain essentially.
Right.
Yep.
Like my therapist, I remember her saying, just think of yourself when you were little and at a relaxing place. And then I thought of my sons when they were little and how innocent they were and wonderful. And that connected me. Like the light went on for me that I was just this precious little girl. And so I love that. And they sometimes they'll ask you to think of a color. And I would come up with dark blue in the beginning and then like pink, something soft after. They would say, what's the first color? So I really know that EMDR works.
So I want to commend you. You broke the cycle.
Right.
You didn't let what had happened to you. You weren't writing the story for the rest of your life.
Right.
You didn't fall victim for the rest of your life.
Right.
And you learned, I believe in the military, when you turned 18 and you went in, you learned structure.
Right.
You learned what hard work does.
Right.
Not giving up. You said your first few years in the military were tough.
Right.
But then you got with it.
Right.
And the hard work eventually paid off and you're a fighter.
Right.
And that played out in other areas of your life as you went on.
Right.
Yeah, the 2010, the setback and the PTSD, that's just after effect of what had happened to you. But you took it head on and you went and you got the help. You talked about your grandfather being an alcoholic, and given what he had done to you, you found a way to forgive him because you said he was in alcoholism.
My mom did.
Oh, that was your mom who said that.
Right. I
Got
didn't.
it. Okay. Well, then
I'm glad we clarified that.
Okay.
And
my
there's
apologies.
even more to the story.
Well, let's
Okay.
go to, I want to go to, were you able to find forgiveness for him? I mean, he was already 4 years passed away when you found out.
Right.
So were you able to find that
no.
forgiveness?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No. I just think after what I went through
Mm-hmm.
and that he put my mother through that, I'm like, there's no excuse. And erase, like, I know he existed, but I see him for what he was.
Right.
And I told you how my mom's sisters didn't believe me or wanted to push it under the rug.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with Ancestry, this is the end of the story. Sorry.
No, you're good.
The girl that was given up for adoption,
Mm-hmm.
my older sister that my mom gave up for adoption before me, went on Ancestry. I had entertained the idea, but decided I didn't want to, that I didn't really want to know, that I just dealt with enough BS. And my mom had 3 sisters
Mm-hmm.
and 3 brothers. And her 2 sisters, the older 2, that one that wasn't my age, they did Ancestry. So that one aunt called me in about 2017-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't quote me on that, but
Okay.
we moved into a place in Colorado, and she calls me and says, I'm sorry. I'm like, for what? So she's on the phone. She's like, you were right. And then that's when she dropped the bomb that, yes, Grandpa is your dad, or he was your dad. You're older, or I thought it was a joke at first, she said, but this woman called me and said, I'm your sister. And she thought she was just like messing with her. But I met her. And she was adopted. And she's like cool enough and everything, but I'm like still kind of pissed off that she grew up in a nice family. So even though this was God's plan, I'm like, why didn't they give me up for adoption? It's like, or why didn't my mom give me up for adoption?
Yeah.
So, and then.
Appreciate your honesty.
Yeah. I'm like, who wouldn't feel that way?
Yeah.
She, whatever normal is,
Mm-hmm.
She grew up in a more like traditional.
Yeah, of course. Household.
Right.
Do you stay in contact with her today or no?
Yeah, but it's been less and less because I'm finding out that I'm, in the beginning, my one aunt, or both my aunts, I should say, one more than the other, was bullshit because I wanted to call her right away because just confirmed that my mom was telling me the truth, and tell her that I was her younger sister.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, you haven't even done the Ancestry yet, and you shouldn't. I'm like, why not? So I called her and I told her. And then, of course, like within a month later, we found out we were, in fact, full-blooded
sisters. Got it. Well, Tina, I want to thank you for sharing your story and, the solution, 2010, what you had went through, and as a child, and rising above, breaking the cycle and not giving up on yourself, not falling victim for the rest of your life.
Exactly.
Yeah. So thank you very much for taking the trip and coming on.
Yeah. So I just want to say one more thing too, if it's okay. Life goes on, and you need to know that I have family members that are probably wetting themselves if they ever even found out I was here, because they're into shoving everything under the rug. And I don't think that's healthy. I just don't think there's healing. So That's just my final thought.
Yeah. I
It's
appreciate
nice to meet you.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. And yes, for me it's a whole different beast, what you went through and my addiction. And, but I have found that with addiction, part of the healing process is talking about it so that others don't have to go through what I went through.
And in being honest,
Mm-hmm.
like when I moved to California, I lived in California. Wine was like my drink of choice.
Yeah.
And it was not a good thing.
Yeah. You were abusing it.
Yeah. Where I look back on it and it's just not.
Yeah. You don't drink today.
Right.
Yep.
And
That's amazing. Congrats.
Thanks. So I like the clarity.
Yeah, of course.
And I just want to be healthy.
Yep. My audience will love that.
Well, and I don't judge anybody that's been down that road because I just don't. Like I said, because I've experienced deep pain and trials and my life hasn't been easy street.
Yeah.
I have like nothing but love for anybody that goes through their own trials and tribulations.
Yeah.
They might be different, but it's still painful and it's hard.
Yeah. Well, thank you again.